What if I told you that the highest form of knowledge isn't about having all the answers, but about embracing the mystery that surrounds us? Albert Schweitzer once said, "We cannot understand what happens in the universe. What is glorious in it is united with what is full of horror. What is full of meaning is united to what is senseless. The highest knowledge is to know that we are surrounded by mystery." When thinking about this channel, the content I would like to discuss, and the value I would like to provide, I realize that there are many channels and videos on YouTube that have been and are now discussing similar material. Many of them that I will recommend were foundational in exposing me to the information, and to a certain extent started me on my journey into the information. Some people will already be familiar with the information, and others may be completely brand new. So as far as this channel, I'm just going to do my best at finding a starting place, and we'll journey from there. I know someone is probably thinking, well, what information are we talking about? What are you referring to? First, I want to make it clear to viewers that over the course of my own journey with self-development, self-improvement, self-actualization, self-realization, all these terms that we use to conceptualize the journey of becoming what we would truly like to be in this life, I feel that I've taken in information on all ends of the spectrum. For a long time now, I've kind of just told myself that if my desire to become the highest version of myself is as strong as I believe it to be, and if my desire to win is as strong as I believe it to be, I'm willing to take and apply game from all ends of the spectrum. So in the realm of self-help, the more you dive into the literature, you begin to see this differentiation in philosophy from what some refer to as the most woo-hoo or woo-woo spiritual approaches. Then on the other end of the spectrum, focusing on what is pragmatic, practical, and tangible. So, for example, on one end of the spectrum, you have the spiritual approaches, where the core beliefs are centered around reality being shaped by imagination, energy, vibration, and universal laws, your inner alignment, mindfulness, and your spiritual connection leading you to your external success. An emphasis on intuition, manifestation, and non-material forces. Some of the practices in this realm being meditation, visualization, affirmations, auto-suggestion, acting as if, use of the concepts like the law of attraction or the law of assumption, even practices like chakra healing, looking into astrology, numerology, or doing energy work. So in general, the different premises in philosophy centered around spirituality are having this cosmic connection and this spiritual ascension. Now, that's one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the pragmatic, practical approaches. The pragmatic approaches, they focus on measurable, actionable strategies rooted in psychology, behavioral science, and even physical health. So the core beliefs being sustained change is driven by habits, discipline, and focused efforts. Growth comes from setting goals, managing time, and leveraging systems. There is also an emphasis on tangible results and logical frameworks. So common practices in this spectrum could be goal setting frameworks, productivity techniques, skills training, mental health strategies like cognitive behavioral therapy, and even something as simple as the gym, physical fitness, or anything related to the physical body and physical fitness. So generally speaking, the pragmatic approaches focus on actionable steps, measurable outcomes, and tangible results. Okay, so now we see this spectrum. On one end you got the spiritual stuff, and on one end you got the pragmatic stuff. So when we start to see the spectrum, we got the metaphysical to pragmatic, spiritual to scientific, esoteric to empirical. And I guess the question could be, why does the differentiation even matter? And how does it help any person get to where they desire to go? So in my mind, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, say that you're a builder, and what you're building is, for one, always yourself, and for two, what you yourself are building is your desired reality, the life that you actually want to live. Everything that exists on the framework or spectrum we just laid out are simply tools to be utilized to build. How you design your tool belt is entirely up to you. Someone out there will be their own version of what we see in Eckhart Tolle, and someone out there will also be their own version of Alex Hormozy. The tool belts look different, and sometimes we get stuck debating with ourselves and others whether or not the tools work, compared to understanding that each tool has a design purpose. Now, the great thing about the tools utilized to build your life is that while they have a design purpose, they're not as rudimentary as the tools we use to build physical structures around us. As amazing and as advanced as those actual tools we use to build buildings like that are, what you get out of them is what you get out of them. It's like thinking about, go ahead and screw something into a wall with a hammer, or hammer the screw into the threads and see if any of that works. We know that it doesn't. So there is this do A, get B as the result process occurring with those tools. That linear process of do A and get B as a result, to an extent, does also exist with the tools that we use to build our life. I mean, personally, I haven't been able to close my eyes in meditation, and 10 minutes later, when I open up my eyes, all of my life's problems have disappeared. Now, is that really what the meditation is for? No, not necessarily. With that said, when I am done meditating, while all the problems still exist, how I perceive them has altered in some way. I did A, and B was the result. I meditated, and my perception towards what I got going on was altered. There was something linear that occurred. But why I say the tools we use to build our life, from the metaphysical side all the way over to the pragmatic side, are not as rudimentary as the tools used to build buildings, is because any one of the multitude of practices you employ has both linear and an exponential potential to get you your desired result. That practice of meditation that a person does constantly, while generally understood as a spiritual practice, has had practical implications on their life in altering their brain activity, neurological networks. It enhanced their daily focus, and it reduced their overall stress in a real tangible way, all while helping them become more aware to their connection with everything and feel more spiritually aligned. What occurred is not a 1-to-1 ratio. It's not one practice and one simple result. Many of, if not all, the tools you can utilize on that spectrum to build the desired reality you want have an exponential opportunity to improve your current situation. Understanding this can help anyone understand why people say invest in yourself, that you will forever be your most important investment. Could sound cliche or overly simplified, but only to someone who chooses not to see what investing in themselves can do on a macro scale when dealing with those exponential results. I've also found it important to make it a part of my own journey to not overemphasize or get caught up in the concept of the spectrum in the realm of self-help. When answering why does it even matter to discuss this, well, because I have found myself at many different times throughout life going through different things and having plenty of different information in mind on how to tackle it, but also feeling this paralysis of analysis of what tool or tools do I use? Is it time to go deeper into the feeling of my wish being fulfilled? Do I lock in and implement new or old systems, measure precisely, and double down on the work? Even thinking like, well, shit, what would Neville Goddard do? Or what would Tim Grover say to me right now? The spectrum. This can become any one of us in this world of information and the access that we have to it nowadays. A majority of the information, especially in self-help, is a blessing though. And there's no use in overcomplicating it, but there is use in utilizing it. There's also a use in discovering what does and doesn't get you to your desired reality. The truth is that most of us will use a mix of every single tool from metaphysical to pragmatic, and that's all right. The key here is that you design your tool belt, that you grow with your tool belt, and your tool belt grows with you. Go ahead and watch the video, How to Conquer Fear Before It Destroys Your Manifestation. See what it says. More importantly, find what can be utilized and apply it. Go ahead and watch the video, 3 ways to 10x your income next year, and see what they say. More importantly, find what can be utilized and apply it. Ultimately, the most special and unique part of it all is that it's you and it's your journey. I say all that to get to the point that don't get caught up in the mass of information that is out there. Use the information. Find out what works for you. Try different things. If you want to try spiritual approaches, or quote unquote, and we're just using them as labels, spiritual, other side, pragmatic, it's just labels. Utilize what you can to get you to where you actually want to go in the realms of information. And everybody's going to have an answer. Everybody on YouTube can tell you a way to, do A, B, and C, and your life will magically change. And, in some ways there is a magic to it. In some ways, are they overselling? Maybe. But the point is, in the realm of self-help and in the realm of improving yourself, don't be afraid to use what, maybe feels kind of odd at first. And for some people, they are more, or they feel and they have a perception that they're more spiritually inclined. So they've done some of those practices. But when it's time to actually do measurable, tangible work, they're reluctant of doing that. So be open, and it can be vice versa for somebody else who just thinks the spiritual stuff is just nonsense, but they could benefit from that. But if they never try or they never expose themselves to, playing around with the concepts and seeing what they can do for, their situation, they're just not going to know. And I think it is important that you try and that you just open yourself up to that. Shorter video, but I did want to leave y'all with one quote because, as I finish talking, I think it is important to understand that it's you at the end of the day. You are the secret sauce. And whatever information you use, a lot of it is kind of revealed by your own intuition and your own inclination to be drawn towards certain things. But understand that it's you, man. You're the secret recipe. You are the one that does any of those approaches. You are the one that exercises them. And you're truly what makes it special. It's not necessarily the approach. So just trust the fact that, it is that kingdom within you that is so special and is to be revealed to the world. So whatever endeavor you got for this year and for your life, just trust that it's you and you got it. And I know that you got it. But I got one quote that I want to finish with, is that, and this was from the, I'm not sure what translation this was from, but it was Luke 17, 20, 21. And the quote goes, Jesus was once asked by the Jewish religious leaders, when will God's kingdom realm come? Jesus responded, God's kingdom realm does not come simply by obeying principles or by waiting for signs. The kingdom is not discovered in one place or another, for God's kingdom realm is already expanding within some of you. And I just thought that really hit home for the conversation and just, kind of drove the point home for me of just understanding that it's not the principles and it's definitely not waiting around, but the kingdom does exist within you. Trust that, take that little word. I know it wasn't much today. I hope you guys maybe enjoyed the view, but I'll see y'all soon, man.